last season on Achilles' heel. Woohoo! Whee! Woohoo! Woo! Woohoo! Whoop! Oh. Okay. It's gonna be fine. Just push. Lift. Raise. Ah, okay. We're moving again. Taking drops again, running on rocks again, jumping over things again, jumping over more things, jumping. All this jumping feels good. You know? What's the worst that could...
You serious?
That's not what I wanted. Let's discuss. I'm Sean. I'm a 40-year-old physical trainer and parkour coach, and this is my second Achilles tendon rupture in 14 months. What's going on here? So a little bit of history. The right Achilles fully ruptured about almost 14 months ago as I was training outside. I was jumping off of a wall and then jumping off to another wall. In parkour, we call that a tic-tac. If you don't know what parkour is, it's the French art of jumping off stuff. It's like being 3 years old again, but faster. And this was a particularly wide gap, and I was really having to push it. I was starting to aggravate a pre-existing weakness up here in my calf. Spoiler alert, aggravating a pre-existing weakness is going to become a depressingly common theme. This particular day, the move that I needed planted off the right foot. You plant on the wall and you push off. It's a tremendously powerful movement. You're jumping into a vertical surface and then rebounding back out of it with all your strength, like it's a monster on the lower leg. And I had done 4 or 5 of these, and it was starting to bark up at me. It was starting to tighten up in the calf, which means it was tightening at the proximal Achilles attachment. Now that's a big problem because the Achilles is supposed to be really tight, stiff down at the bottom. That's what helps you rebound and spring. But it gets softer as you move up into the calf so that it can be more compliant. It means it's more elastic, and it can take all the force from the contraction of the muscle and translate it down to the stiff part, right? But if this stiffens up too much and you keep pushing on it, especially with that extreme dorsiflexion right here under load at high speeds enough times, it was a serious bummer because this was the first surgery I had to have in 39 years of parkour, basketball, kickboxing, snowboarding, just hard movement. You know, I've had about every injury twice. With my own skill set as a trainer, I was able to bring everything back and never had to have surgery until this one. This one over here had some problems too. This is my takeoff leg. In a decade plus of basketball, almost 15 years of parkour, you're talking thousands of more repetitions of dynamic push, rebound, spring. Lot less tread on this tire than this one. I told the orthopedist I'm actually surprised this one didn't explode first. So to explain why this one happened, I use Keegan Smith's analogy of hardware versus software. If you don't know who Keegan Smith is, you might want to check him out. I'll try to put a thing over here, but I'm pretty new to this, so I don't know. One of Keegan's videos was his concept of thinking about the sports that you do, or the activities or the movements, the particular skill set that you like to express through your body as your software, and that the hardware is the strength foundation of everything that goes into those movements. And if your hardware isn't sufficient to run the software, it doesn't matter how well you get taught the software or how many repetitions you put into it. It'll never express itself to its utmost potential, and you set yourself up for injuries if the hardware is not equipped to handle the forces generated by your software. So what we have here is a classic case of too much software, not enough hardware. When this thing exploded, I couldn't do what I wanted to do, so I had no other choice but to be diligent about everyday recovery, and I was. For the first 4 or 5 months, did all the things that I know that can restore my general strength, can restore all my mobility, and can restore maximum tendon health. Now I had a boost on this side. The fully repaired Achilles here healed back much thicker. There was significant scar tissue build up, but I'd done a good job of breaking it up using massage. But what was left was this like double wide steel cable that felt like it could endure anything, which is kind of a bad thing for someone like me, because if I have that capacity, I want to use it, right? But I knew it wasn't time yet. Knew about Kobe, who came back in 8 months and he was still mostly Kobe, but he was never quite the same again. And then The other side of the spectrum is a guy like Kevin Durant, who waited like 16 months, came back and was just a monster like he'd always been, maybe even better than ever. Kobe did it in 8, Katie did it in 16. My thinking was, if I can just stay disciplined and not start moving towards software reinstallation too soon and just work on the hardware on both sides, I'll be okay. Split the difference, I'll say a year before I come back to full strength. 5 or 6 months into it, I start doing crap like this, start piling up the damage again. This thing felt amazing. The only thing that hadn't returned yet was the dynamic strength, the ability to punch out of it. So that was mostly a power in the calf and the foot sort of thing. So my ground contact time was a little soupy, you know, a little sticky. I don't quite have that rebound. And that's a big problem if you're going to be doing, for example, bilateral takeoffs where you're punching out of both feet and you're landing in both feet, ignoring the fact this region right over here had some seriously pronounced weaknesses of its own. Tendinosis, tendinitis, weakness. I could feel it. I didn't need the MRI to tell me. I could feel it every time I plantar flex and tried to stiffen my ankle for a takeoff or a landing. I'd get this little low-level shock here that could turn into a much bigger shock if I keep loading up the mileage. So here I am, month 11, doing speed parkour competitions, which is putting unbelievable stress on both of these still not fully recovered hardware systems. I was choreographing videos, I was training outside a lot, I was trying to dunk a basketball, and I was starting to play World Chase Tag, which, if you don't know what that is, very intense. And the US champions train here in Colorado. They're from Apex Movement, the gym that I coach at. These are my friends, and they're the champions, and they're amazing. And I was going against these guys on the weekend. So by month 12, I've got all that going on. I've got tagging, I've got trying to dunk, then I've got the competitions. It's all too much. And so I was doing a very normal maneuver on this one. I was doing a Kong vault, which is you run, and then you jump, and you place your hands on an object, and then you pull through, and then you run out of it. Stolen from gymnastics, but we call it Kong because that's fun. I've done a million of these things. As soon as I hit down on the other side, this foot flattened. This weakness back here finally gave way one too many times, and I hit dorsiflexion on the ground very suddenly, very flat. Pow! Here we are. 2 Achilles tendon ruptures in 14 months. Too much software, not enough hardware, Keegan. Failed you, buddy. Failed myself. I was so determined that something like this not happen again, and yet my heart pulled me back towards the things that I loved sooner than I should have done it. So there's not much we can do except start over again. If I can be disciplined enough to put this all together, refrain from installing my software until it's all ready, and if at the end of this it turns out that I decide it's not even worth the risk, once I have the strength again, maybe I'll use it for a different expression. That could happen too. But my purpose with putting this up on the internet is twofold. One, I'm just hoping it'll keep me honest. I'm hoping it'll keep me disciplined and patient and doing things the right way and not letting my heart pull me into the wrong direction. This is going to be a mental process as much as a physical process, for sure. And two, I'm hoping that as I document this recovery and show the methods that I'm using, that it's helpful to someone else who might be going through a situation like this. Either you've had an injury, or you're an older athlete and you would like to prevent one of these. If you've never had an injury this bad, let's keep it that way. Maybe this can be of some use in showing not only just how much that you can bring back, but how to preserve it once you've got it again. So that's what I'm hoping to show. It's a little early to know yet, but I got a good feeling about this one. Or at the very least, if I don't learn patience now, it's never gonna happen. So I'll check in soon, let you know how it's going, and look forward to sharing the journey with you. Skill set is pretty limited at the moment. There's still quite a few things I can do. And right now, here's what that looks like.
Yeah.